So if you have a mindfulness practice where you do a meditation, it's good to reflect on it, maybe in a group. Sometimes you talk about what came up in your practice, for instance. You might talk about the some of the internal resistance that you might notice in your practice. Hey, I've been trying to do the practice and I'm finding a lot of self-doubt that comes up. I'm judging myself a lot, whatever. Or, I did your practice. I was doing a breathing practice or a meditation practice, and I noticed this, et cetera, et cetera. That's sort of a check-in, mostly in regards to your mindfulness practice. So my recommendation is at least 5 minutes of a practice where we call a formal practice. Formal practice is where you put down your phone. What we do here would be considered a formal practice. Okay. We probably run about a 15 to 20 minute meditation. I recommend at least 5 minutes a day where you put down your phone, your kids or animals aren't bugging you. There's no TV on. You can sit in a chair, couch. You can be lying down on your bed. You can sit on a meditation pillow. You can even go for a walk. But the purpose of the walk is mindful movement. For instance, you can walk your dog and that could be your mindfulness practice, right? But the purpose of it is, in any mindfulness practice, where are you choosing to pay attention to? What are you choosing to pay attention to? Where are you allowing your mind to wander and go? Are you allowing it? Are you focusing on something? And initially, when we do a practice, whether it's a walking meditation or a mindfulness practice, we choose to focus on an object. And that focus is where we place our attention. We choose that prior to the practice. And then what we do is the first part of that practice is a concentration and focus practice. And what we're doing is we're saying, hey, I'm going to concentrate on this. And what we do then is we focus on that. And today we're going to do a very specific concentration and focusing practice. One of my favorites ever. We've had a lot of favorites, haven't we, over the last few weeks? Urge, surfing, et cetera, et cetera. This is another one of my favorites. And then as your mind wanders from this point of concentration that you've determined, then as soon as you notice your mind has wandered, that's what I call a beautiful moment of mindfulness. We bring it back to what we choose to focus on. And that bringing back, we do that with kindness. We do that with self-compassion, non-judgmental. It's not, oh my effing God, I can't believe my mind. I'm so stupid. I can't do this practice. Okay. It's, oh, wow. Look at my mind. My mind has wandered. Let me bring it back. And the moment you bring it back, your mind is going to wander again. Okay. And that's what the mind does. And then you go, oh, wow, look at the nature of the mind. The nature of the mind is jumping from spot to spot, from place to place. It's constantly being attached to different things, right? And you're saying, wow, I'm trying to focus on my breath, or I'm trying to focus on this burning candle in front of me, and I can't. I cannot even focus on this thing without my mind wandering. Wow, isn't that interesting? There's no judgment. You're not a bad person. You're not a good person. It's just this, it's interesting. It's like, oh, wow. Huh. Interesting mind. So mindfulness of sound, right? Listen to the music. Is it on the background and you're, doing something else? Or you have headphones on and it's sort of like you're allowing that present moment to be fully engrossed in the music, right? So that's a choice, right? You make that choice. And that's a perfect example. Some people have the example, and I've used it in the past, that when you start this practice, it's literally like you're starting to have a relationship with yourself, and you're starting to have a relationship with your mind. Okay. And many of us sort of have allowed the mind to kind of do what the mind wants to do, and we start to recognize, oh, there's actually some conscious understanding that can occur with the mind. Okay. And what do I mean by that? The first time we bring awareness to the mind, we start to recognize, oh, wow, the mind just generates all these thoughts. Where are these thoughts coming from? We might even inquire, where are these thoughts coming from? Did I have that thought? Who's having these thoughts? Who's actually having the thoughts that are being generated? Is it me? I don't know where some of these thoughts are coming from, right? When we start to ask these questions, we start to realize, oh, wow, maybe the mind is just generating thoughts. And you don't even realize it, but we're sort of slaves to our mind. Once we start to understand how the mind works, then we can actually use the mind for us. We can actually use the mind and help us. Okay. But there needs to be an understanding of the mind and how it works. So for instance, go out today and buy a 2-day-old puppy. Okay. And the puppy, 2 days old, is your mind. Now start training the puppy. Right? How are you going to train this 2-day-old little puppy? What is this puppy doing? What does this puppy want to do? Eat, poop, pee all over the place, pee on every carpet because it doesn't know anything, right? It doesn't know where to pee, doesn't know where to poop. So it's getting on you have a nice white couch, white leather couch. It's not going to be white anymore, right? Take this puppy now for a walk. Put it on a leash. What is it doing? All right. And that's kind of what happens to our mind, to be honest with you, right? Advertisements are coming in, right? We're looking at billboards. There's a car coming into our side view there. Oh, I need to be aware of the car. Oh my goodness. So, hey, that's a good ad over there. What is that ad? Oh, up there. Oh, now I'm paying attention to the ad, right? Now there's a Ferrari that drives down the street. There's a cool new motorcycle. Hey, look at that motorcycle. Hey, I wish I had more money. Oh man, I wish I had more money. I don't make enough money. I'm a bad human being because I don't make enough money and I can't. And the mind just goes, right? And that's your dog. That's your 2-day-old dog that you're taking on a walk. The majority of us, here's the dog and you're pulling the leash and the dog's going in and it's smelling this and it's smelling that and it's going into the cactus and it's getting poked by the cactus and it's putting its paws on other dogs' poop and you have to clean it off and it's interested in what the skunk has to say, right? Hey, this is a cool animal. It wants to engage with me. Let me go play with the skunk. Next thing you know, you're washing what are you doing? Don't you know it's a skunk? No, I have no idea it's a skunk. I've never had this experience before in my life, but now I know. Thank you. Okay. Now I know I can get myself in trouble. If I just kind of allow my mind to go, it can get in trouble. I've had those experiences, right? My mind maybe goes into a rut. It goes into a rut of depression, and it takes days, hours, days, months, or years to get out of. So here you are, you got the puppy on the leash, right? And what are you doing if you start to understand that, oh, wow, the puppy is interested in everything, right? Let me guide the puppy. Oh, you know what? That plant, it's not, if you get too close to that plant, you might poke your nose. So let me just guide you, right? You don't pull the leash, right? You're not like yanking the leash when the puppy goes, you're like nudging it. It's like a little nudge, right? Oh, come this way. Come this way. Oh, no, come this way. Let's try to stay on this path, right? What's the path? Well, it might be the sidewalk. Maybe it's a park, right? You're going on this path. You don't want it to go to past the electric fence, for instance. So you're guiding it. All right. The first time you take your puppy on a walk, you're going to feel like, oh my goodness, that was the craziest walk ever. I can't control my puppy. Right. And that might be the feeling that you get the first time you actually sit down for a meditation practice. Like, what are you having me do? You're having me sit, and all that happens is I just pay attention to all these thoughts that are coming up. And you feel like you're going to blow up, literally, right? You feel as if like your head is going to explode. And then the next day you do the same thing. And you take your puppy for a walk. And the next day you do the same thing. And the next day you do the same thing. And the next day you do the same thing. You're not kicking the puppy. You're not yanking on the leash so that you're hurting its neck. You're gently guiding it. You're guiding it where? You're guiding it down this path. Right? And that's the exact same thing. It's a good metaphor for a mindfulness sort of meditation practice. What are we choosing to focus on? We choose an object that we place our attention on at the beginning. We ask the puppy to stay in this path. As it goes off the path, we gently nudge it back. Hey, you're off the path. Come this way. Hey, your mind has wandered. Come back. And what do you come back to? You come back to something you feel safe doing. You come back to something that you feel safe placing your attention on. Maybe it's a sensation in the body. Maybe it's an emotion that you generate, like gratitude. Some people call it shepherd. You are the shepherd of your mind, where the shepherd has a flock of sheep and you're going up the valley. And you know that there's a cliff over to this side and there's the woods over to that side, and you want them to graze in the open pastures. You know what happens. The sheep can fall off the cliff and then they die and your flock decreases in size. You could go into the woods and maybe get eaten by some of the animals in the woods. So we don't want that to happen, right? And so what we do is we shepherd, and the mind has this similar sort of analogy. Okay, that thoughts can be generated and we can fall off the cliff and have more anxiety, fear, panic. We might go into the woods, sort of stray off. Okay. Now, initially, we try to shepherd the mind. We try to shepherd the thoughts, and we choose something to pay attention to. Once you've done this practice for a while, and then you understand the nature of your mind, you drop the object. You drop what you're actually paying attention to, and you just rest in what we call pure awareness. You rest in pure awareness, and anything that arises in pure awareness, that sort of becomes the object of meditation. But we don't attach onto anything. Like the breath, we allow each breath to come and go, come and go, come and go. When we're in meditation, we allow each thought. Oh, you notice it, recognize it as a thought. We did the practice of the RAIN practice, to recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture our emotions. We're not attaching onto them. We're not clinging onto them. We're not allowing them to define who we are. We're noticing them. We may investigate them, and then we nurture ourselves with love and compassion. Today's practice is also one of my favorite practices because it's simple. I like simple, okay? When I started getting into mindfulness, I was depressed, anxious, you name it, right? When I started getting into these practices, the first time I sat for meditation, it was like all I could feel was how uncomfortable my body was. All I could notice was how many thoughts would generated in my body, in my mind, and every single thought was a thought about A, how I'm not doing it right, B, how I suck, C, how one thought leads to another thought, which just created more guilt. And then and the judgments just sort of kept on piling on. I go, this is not for me. I don't know what they are talking about. This is crazy. And the reason we teach so many different tools is because maybe one application may be difficult or challenging for you. When I first brought my attention to my breath, for instance, it was very difficult for me. Okay. I'm sort of a thinker, right? So if you feel like, hey, every time I really try to quiet down or every time I try to fall asleep, all I notice is just like my mind is racing. Then it might be difficult for you to just say, okay, hey, let me sit and just rest and relax. What might happen is you just might start to be more aware of your racing mind, and that might actually cause more anxiety, might actually cause more nervousness in your body. Hey, you know what? I need to be doing something. Dr. Z, I need to be doing something. Okay. I like this philosophically, but I can't do it. I can't sit still. Fine. Right. That's why we have so many different practices. Go for a walking meditation. What are you doing? You're walking. You're moving. You're moving your body. You might be more body oriented. Sensate. Okay. What are you doing during your practice? Paying attention to what? The present moment. Present moment is the moment now. You're doing that on purpose, and you're trying to do it without judgment. So as soon as you notice, oh man, my mind has wandered, like I said, you're not a bad person. There's no good or bad. That's just the mind. Hey, that's the mind. Come back. All right. I was a very mental person. So what was good for me to start out with was actually exercises that actually included the mind, almost as if I was sort of tricking it. Okay. And so what would this be? So this practice is one of a repetition of a word, okay, a sound, a phrase, a prayer, a thought of gratitude, whatever it might be, right? It's a mantra practice, even like the rosary, the rosary where you go in each bead, you say a prayer. That's actually a form of mantra. Why? Because you grab the rosary, there's an intention set. You go through each bead as a prayer. If your mind wanders and you're still on the same bead, what do? Come back to the bead and go down. All right. Another reason I like it is because you can use it anywhere. So you can use it driving. You can use it, for instance, in the pre-op area if you're going in for surgery. You can use it in the post-op recovery area. You can use it anywhere. You can use it walking, running. You can use it while you're taking care of somebody. You can use it trying to fall asleep. And all it is, it's a gentle, silent, maybe whisper of a repetition of a word or phrase that is authentic to you and a total disregard for everything else. Okay. Some people, Herb Benson, who was, he's an MD at Harvard, he created what's called the relaxation response, which is what he did is he traveled to India and China and looked at all the way these sort of meditation, how they were doing meditation. And he said, there's no way that they're going to do that Westerners are going to sit for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, half a day in meditation. What's the essence of this practice? And he came out with something called the relaxation response. You can Google it, Herb Benson and the relaxation response. His work was so profound in decreasing blood pressure. He was an MD at Harvard. He started doing studies on it, started noticing that people were decreasing their blood pressure by simply doing this practice. He started noticing shift in inflammatory markers in the body. He started noticing a change in the parasympathetic nervous system again. And so now they have the Henry Benson Institute at MGH. John Henry is the owner of the Boston Red Sox Major League Baseball team. He's also the owner of the Liverpool soccer team in England. He thought that this was such an important project that that they created the Henry Benson Institute at MGH, and their primary role is to do research on mindfulness, on meditation, funded by John Henry, who's the owner of the Boston Red Sox. And so the practice is very simple, and you can do it anywhere. And it's so profound that what happens is that you start repeating a word or phrase that is authentic to you. Have it be simple. It could even be ra. It should be a sound. Ra, na. You can link it to your breath. You can even say, as you're breathing in. As you're breathing out, out. As you're breathing in. As you're breathing out, out. But there's a mental component to it that activates the mind. And when you activate the mind on a mental level, it tends to start to wander less. Okay. So you're wandering less. It could be anything. And this is why I'm going to allow you to kind of find your own mantra, your own phrase, your own prayer, whatever it is. It could be peace. It could be shalom. It could be Hail Mary, full of grace. Anything. My mantra that I've used, that I have had different mantras throughout my life based on what I was doing, where I was in life, et cetera, has ultimately come down to love and peace. Love and peace. Love and peace. So how do I use it? And how would I encourage others to use it? At any time that you feel stressed, at any time you feel as if your mind is wandering, as if you're noticing, have you ever noticed a pattern of thoughts that gets generated that then creates another thought that gets generated, and you know the trajectory that this thought pattern takes you in? That it might not be, you're like, I had that, let's say, negative thought again. And when I have that negative thought, it generates this negative thought. And when I have this negative thought, it generates this sort of demeanor and attitude. And I get to be really in a pissed off mood. Right? Have you ever noticed that? Anyone? So as soon as you notice that, do you like that? Do you enjoy going to that? Do you think that's helping you or harming you every single time you go into that depressed rut? Okay. You incorporate your mantra. And this is why I love it, because it doesn't matter what you're doing. You don't need to take time out of your day. It's literally, you notice that thought pattern coming up and you start doing your mantra. You notice somebody just cut you off on the freeway and here comes the rage, and you start doing your mantra. You start noticing your pain increasing. Your pain starts to increase. Let's say it's at a 4, starts to increase, and you go into your mantra, right? Because you're trying to send the brain a different signal. And each time you send the brain that signal, you're literally trying to fire new neurotransmitters, new chemicals in the brain to create different synapses, different neurochemistry. You know where it could go. That's the past. I don't like that. Can we generate something new? Okay. Can we generate something new? There are times, for instance, where my pain has been so flared, where I would have thoughts that, for instance, would take me down into those ruts and would be so devastating, for instance, that would take me out for days, weeks, and months. And so I started doing this. So what would I notice? Let's say I'd noticed that my pain was starting to increase, or I noticed that I'd have that thought pattern that would come, that would take me from, let's say I felt pretty centered. All of a sudden a thought comes out of nowhere, and I start feeling myself going towards anger, rage, panic. I bring in my mantra. And so it literally looks and it feels to me as if I'm having a battle in my brain. Right? Like, let's say this is the pain and this is the pain signal, right? And what signals are in the nervous system, they're like little just repetitive firings, right? So it'd be like, right? Whatever that repetitive signal is for you that you feel like you have, that may be not so pleasant, that may be harming. This doesn't feel good. I feel so tight after I have that thought pattern, whatever it is. Right? So here's the signal. Bup, 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 bup. All right. And you say, oh, I noticed that signal. And you come in consciously with another signal, whatever that is, right? A mantra, some repetition of a word. And so what you're doing, here's the pain signal, bup, 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 bup. And you're saying, my mantra is love and health. So I'm just going to use that. Love and health, 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 love and health. And literally, you're trying to drown out the brain from the signal that's trying to be generated. And sometimes you feel this little battle. Okay, it almost feels like one side is kind of pulling and the other side is pulling. Okay, and I'd have these moments where, let's say I was driving and I was doing my mantra, and I literally felt like one side was pulling and the other side was pulling, and I was trying to do my mantra, and it was sort of like love and health, love and health, love and health, love and health, love. And that's how frequent you need to do it. All right, because I know how relentless the other signal is. Love and health, love and health, love and health, love and health, love and health. And it was sort of like this battle in the brain. Almost as if I could feel the new neurons being created, but yet I could feel like the cloud of depression, like the cloud of panic was taking over. And then I'd say, oh, it got me. And then I'd know, I'd be like, okay, well, here I am. Got me again. And then I'd go through that rut. Maybe it took days. Maybe it took weeks. And then there it comes. And then I get through it. And then what happens? Here it comes again. And it's the same. Okay, love and health, 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 love and health. And what I started noticing over time is that the balance started shifting. All right. So that the mantra started becoming the predominant signal. It went from being from the panic to the mantra being balanced to now the mantra being the predominant signal. How? By repetition. By sheer repetition. By a counter stimulation of the other signal. Okay. And so how does this apply to mindfulness? Because the practice is essentially during your practice or throughout your day, you come up with a word or phrase that works for you, whatever that is. You might even just say, I'm grateful to be alive, and that's your phrase. I'm grateful to be alive. 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 And you just whisper it to yourself. You gently whisper. And as your mind wanders, the point about the whispering or the verbalizing is that it activates the mind to some level. And so if you notice your mind has wandered, then you're probably not verbalizing it. And so you notice that and you simply come back to verbalizing it. You can do it in a silent whisper to yourself, almost as if you're kind of talking to yourself, right? Or if you're alone in your car, down your road, whatever it is, walking, you can use this out loud. Love and health, 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 right? It can be anything, a word, a sound, right? You can integrate, if you can, this is sort of a level beyond, but in this practice, if you want to integrate the sound with your breath, then do so. So some people might have there's a couple famous ones like so, hum. So the in breath is so and the out breath is hum. There's ra, da, ra, da. So the in breath is ra, the out breath is da. And you just get into the rhythm. Okay. So let's go into our practice. Okay, so let's find a comfortable position. A position you will feel relaxed yet alert. Closing your eyes if you feel comfortable closing your eyes. If not, having a soft downward gaze. And just taking a moment to come to the present moment. To allow yourself to be present. Taking 2 or 3 deep breaths. With each in-breath, bringing in the present moment, and with each out-breath, releasing any bit of stress, tension. And then breathing regularly. And taking a moment to feel your feet. On whatever surface they are on. To feel the backs of your thighs. To feel your pelvis and your hips. To feel your back coming up through your shoulders, your neck, your arms, your hands, your whole body present here right now. And now bringing to mind a sound, word, phrase, prayer, intention of gratitude, something that for the next 5 or 6 minutes you can repeat to yourself. You can choose to focus on. It could be as simple as a single sound. Ah. Om. It could be a simple word. It could be a prayer that is authentic to you. When you come up with something that you feel you can repeat to yourself, simply start repeating it in a whisper to yourself, with a total passive disregard for anything else. Complete focus on the repetition of your phrase or word. And if anything else comes into your mind, simply thanking it, choosing not to pay attention to it, redirecting your attention with kindness, compassion, and love back to the repetition of the word or phrase. Depending on your level of practice, the frequency at which you repeat the word or phrase may change. You may notice yourself repeating it quite frequently. Love and health, 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 love and health. And as your practice continues, you may notice the frequency starting to decrease. And a space emerges between the whispers of your phrase. Your total focus and concentration is on your word, sound, or phrase. That is what you are choosing to pay attention to. The passive disregard for everything else. Shepherding your mind back to the repetition of your word or phrase. Gently whispering to yourself. And as your mind wanders, which is what the mind does, simply redirecting it back to the repetition of your word or phrase. Shepherding your mind, nudging your mind like you're walking a puppy. Your focus and concentration is on your word or phrase. As your mind wanders, with kindness, you bring it back to the repetition of your word or phrase. And just noticing where your mind is now. Shepherding your mind back to your word with kindness and self-compassion. There's no judgment, there's no good or bad, there's no right or wrong. There just is. There's a starting in the understanding of the nature of the mind. Learning how to focus, concentrate. And as we bring this meditation to a close, just seeing if this worked for you. Noticing how you feel right now. And if it did, incorporating this into your daily life, either as a formal practice or as you're just walking through the grocery store, driving your car, talking to friends. And now taking 2 or 3 deep breaths, feeling your body again, breathing, the sensation of your thighs on the chair, your back being supported. Opening your eyes if your eyes were closed. Stretching if you feel like you need to stretch. And just taking a moment to reflect on your practice.